Hello students, welcome to this video. And in this video, we are going to answer the question, who can evaluate? So this is video 5 in the lecture series on testing and evaluation as part of the subject English language teaching, and which has the subject code 305 E6A. Okay, so we are going to look at in this, and let me before I even begin, let me promise you that this video will not be as lengthy as the previous one. I know that it was around 30 minutes, a bit more than 30 minutes, if I'm right. So let's answer this question: who can evaluate? So we are going to look at two people or two. Two people who can evaluate the teaching learning process, or who can evaluate the classroom. One, of course, is the teacher. So we are going to look at the teacher as the evaluator, and of course, the learner. Okay. Now, before, don't be very happy when I say the learner cannot, that is you as the learner can be the evaluator. Because immediately when someone gives you the role of evaluation and asks two things: one, evaluate your classmate, okay, or evaluate yourself, then you are not going to be as liberal as you expect. I mean, as a learner, you expect the teacher to be liberal. But when the role of the evaluator is given to you, then you will not be as liberal as you think you will be. You will be a bit harsh on yourself, maybe less harsh on yourself and more harsh with your classmates. Okay, this could happen. So don't be very happy that the learner can be. But we are discussing this thing, the learner as the evaluator. But let's begin with this: the teacher as evaluator. So let us be very clear: the teacher can be the evaluator. Obviously, the teacher is the evaluator. Let us be very clear, and that is how we ended the previous video lecture, namely that teacher is the insider. Okay. So he or she sees, by teacher, I mean the teacher, the professor. Okay, I'm not making any distinction between schools and colleges here. So let's be very clear here. The teacher is the insider, okay, and has a far better understanding of the classroom. So giving this person, him or her, okay, of the dynamics of the classroom, the learners, etc. Okay, by classroom I mean the atmosphere. By learners I mean you, the students. Okay, so the teacher can be has, in fact, is an evaluator. As simple as that. It's not a question of can be, but when you look at the teacher as evaluator, these are the advantages. An insider perspective is given, is all obviously assumed. You have far greater. The teacher has far greater experience and understanding of the different aspects of the different learners and the classrooms. Okay, and this person looks at it. The evaluation is on an everyday basis. Okay, it's an everyday, whether it's formal or informal, on an everyday basis. This happens. And don't forget, being an insider, this person is on site. By on site we mean he's in the classroom all the time. So okay, on site all the time. So we are talking about a rank insider who can do the job, and that's a great thing that can happen. Okay, so the teacher is, obviously, it's obvious that the teacher can evaluate. Okay, because of all these factors, because of all these special characteristics that the teacher has, thanks to the amount of time that he or she spends in the classroom. But before we get too excited that the teacher can be the evaluator, let us ask ourselves the following questions. I mean, these questions have to be asked. One, are you equipped? Okay, is the teacher equipped for evaluation? That is, for example, this may be a very I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry to say, a very stupid question. Is the teacher equipped to evaluate? The person may be equipped to evaluate, and yet may not be expected to evaluate, because the management or the administration says, no, don't do that. Okay, don't do this evaluation. So they cannot evaluate at all. Two, the second thing is the evaluation systematic? Okay, is the evaluation that is being carried out systematic? principled and systematic. Evaluation that is being carried out systematic or done in a systematic manner. Okay. And three, the third question that may be asked is, has the person got the particular training, So, I mean, if this is not, okay, let us assume that the teacher is not equipped, then what should be done immediately? Give training. Okay. Is the training given? And remember, no matter what training or orientation is given to the teacher, ultimately, any evaluation that is carried out is so much dependent on the administration, on the management, on the atmosphere of that college, or of the institution, that, well, all these factors affect the teacher as evaluator. Okay. And of course, the teacher can, and I'm going to add it here. I'm going to add it here itself. It's a wonderful thing that the teacher can do. One of the best things that they can do is all the formative things. They can look at the process. Okay. So the formative mode of evaluation can be done by the teacher as the insider. Of course, these are advantages. These are some of the disadvantages that you have. I mean, are you equipped to evaluate? Are you allowed to? In fact, I can add it here. Is the teacher allowed to evaluate? Because let us assume that the teacher is saying, okay, let's start. And then the students don't cooperate, or if the administration does not cooperate, or if the students say, ma'am, all this is not needed, why do you unnecessarily put us through this evaluation? Then it becomes a headache. Ma'am, if there is a test, we are willing to undergo a test. But if it is evaluation, no, why do you want to evaluate us, or something like that? If some student asks this question, then the teacher's authority is unnecessarily doubted. So is the teacher allowed to carry on evaluation or allowed to evaluate? This is the question. Okay, so these are the questions that have to be asked. Now let's come back to the student, the learner as the evaluator. So here, okay, let us be very clear. Now, the moment, what do we mean by the learner as evaluator? I would say here the learner has to do, now this is a pressure on the learner, obviously. Okay, so you are not just learning. So the learner already is a learner. He learns. There is already a primary duty. The primary task of a learner is to learn. Now, how do you evaluate? The primary task is to learn. Now, if you add evaluation to it, there is a bit of self-reflection that comes in. Okay. So in addition to learning, this learner becomes a monitor of his learning, or a monitor of, okay, his learning, his or her learning. So that is self-evaluation, or a monitor of the learning of others, how the others are learning. And remember, here the learner has the kind of task given to a teacher cannot be given to a learner. Obviously, the teacher has more responsibility, more accountability, etc. So here only learning can be evaluated. Let us be very clear. Okay. So of course, the moment you involve the learner, what will happen? Immediately you are empowering that person. You are enabling or empowering the learner in a very positive manner. And that's a good thing. Only thing, this power should not be wielded should not be wielded as a weapon. It should not be used as a weapon. Okay. So these are the positives. The primary task is to learn. You can, the secondary, or I don't want to say secondary. Here, the additional task that is given to the learner is to monitor his or her learning. That is one. And to monitor the learning of the others, of his classmates or of his teammates, etc. This can work wonderfully well in group work. Okay. So now what will happen is, so here let me put the learner as evaluator. Where can you use the learner as evaluator, as an evaluator? Okay, the learner as evaluator. Okay, main thing is in cooperative or collaborative learning. And this is something which we overlook. I don't know why we start looking at anything not as cooperative or a collaborative enterprise, but as a competitive enterprise. In fact, I would like to talk more about this. I would like to remove the word competition from the dictionary of the classroom, and they say healthy competition. What is healthy about competition, people? Come on. Competition immediately brings in the question of rivalry. Are your classmates rivals? So immediately you talk about rivals. Are your classmates rivals? Remember, this rivalry can take any shape. It can take a shape of a gender also. I mean, like, okay, boys versus girls, or first row versus second row. I am totally against this rivalry and competition and creating rivals among students. I'm totally against it. I'm all for cooperative and collaborative learning. Okay, so and then based on this cooperative collaborative learning, we can get feedback, or you as students, you can give us feedback. Okay, both data based, it could be data based, or it could be measurement based. So this feedback could be either measurement based. Okay, this feedback can be obtained from you, measurement based or descriptive data based. Again, these are very descriptive data based methods. Okay, feedback methods. Okay, so and all these both these things can emerge wonderfully from student interaction, from the students' own performance. Allow them to, that is, you as learners, what you can do is you can start performing. You can be given that is ideally speaking, as when you are an evaluator. Let me just write this properly. I know this evaluator. This is a bit thick, but anyway, I hope this is clear to you in the video. So yeah, so main thing is you are given a task, you are put in a group, okay, and then you perform. That is, let us assume that it's a speaking task or something like that, and from the performance there is an evaluation that emerges. And remember here, when I say the learner as evaluator, all learners should be, let me add that here, all learners should be evaluators. Okay, because here we are talking about enabling and empowering. Let us not say, okay, let 5 people come, the others should just keep quiet. No, that's not a good thing at all. We were trying to answer the question, who can evaluate? And we are looking at the teacher and the learner as evaluators. And we looked at the advantage of the teacher being evaluator, and certain issues that may arise when the teacher is the evaluator. Okay, obviously, that is, when the teacher as evaluator, these are the issues that arise when formality is brought into evaluation. We're not talking about informal evaluation. I mean, you can do informal evaluation is an everyday process. Okay, both the teacher and learner will do. But here, when we formalize it, these are the issues that come that arise when you make the teacher as the evaluator. The question is whether there is support from the administration and from the management, from the principal, etc., etc. Anyway, it should be there. Then we looked at the learner as the evaluator. The primary task is to learn, but you can monitor the learning, your learning. That is, this is self and the learning of others, and this in turn will enable the learners to understand better what is going on. Okay, inside the class. Okay, students. So that can happen only when you are given a task or a group. And remember, when the learner is made as evaluator, they will evaluate only learning and the factors that affect learning. Okay, so that ends video 5.